still a significant deal. So there is, I mean, just to say that it's taken care of because it all shifts to another bank might be valid in many respects. But I can't believe that banks closing is a good thing in any situation.
No, but I guess my point is that it might be that your deposits are going to be lost, right? But if I borrowed money from the bank, whoever inherits that bank's books, whatever, is going to come after me anyway for the damn money I owe them, right? Because they're not going to say this is an asset I'm just going to write off, right? I mean, banks are really good at coming after assets that they're owed. I mean, if you go bankrupt, whatever, then of course you can write it off, and they have to write it off, but unless that happens, and I think that's part of what's happening, now is that people are doing a lot of personal bankruptcies, right? And I mean, in my neighborhood, I'm seeing a lot of, well, not a lot, but a fair number of foreclosures of houses, right? And certainly, I'm in Arizona, and we're one of the bubble states with housing. I mean, my house has dropped almost in half since its peak, which fortunately I didn't buy it at its peak, but so even real estate can lose value, right? But
right. Certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly. No, I think, like I said, I think the confusion was just me trying to make it too simple, because the danger of banks closing really comes in not getting the money that you are either owed because of your deposit, right, and really another bank taking on even paying your mortgage to a new bank puts extra stress on that new bank insofar as, I don't know, Well, I mean, I guess I would have to hear more about like your situation. You said you started paying your mortgage towards one bank, and that bank went under. And now you're paying the same. Are all your numbers the same? Are your payments the same?
Right. The document didn't change at all. My obligation to pay didn't change at all. I mean, the mortgage ultimately, I guess, becomes some kind of a weird security, and the banks can sell it to each other for discounts off of the dollar value or maybe premiums. I don't know how they negotiate that, but the way I see it is at most my same check goes to some other bank someplace, right? And in my case, it's.
I wonder if that check is going. Is counted as income for that bank, or if that bank is paying off the other bank's debts or where exactly that money goes. I haven't the foggiest.
I'm not positive. I mean, in my case, it's countrywide, so it got bought by Bank of America, and
right.
I think basically what happens is the process of going bankrupt. You wipe out the owner's equity, which is the stock, right, of the company. And you give the control of the company to somebody else, right? And so I don't know exactly how Bank of America paid or didn't pay for how much they paid for Countrywide, but Countrywide was obviously fairly heavily implicated in this housing bubble for making loans that were not so wise.
Right.
And in general, I mean, you have a mortgage servicer who is the one who actually I pay the money to, and they somehow distribute the money out to the people who actually own the security. And even my mortgage could be owned by 5 different people, right? They could have sold it in 5 different pieces, and there's no way I have of knowing that. And that's part of what this derivative market was taking these securities and aggregating them together and confusing the hell out of everybody and selling them off as AAA rated assets that, of course, were not really AAA, right?
Right.
So.
Well, and then, but I mean, the start of all those different loans that were given. I mean, were given in a kind of anticipation of something that wasn't there. I mean, when we're talking about a bubble, I mean the anticipation was that the value of houses were of such of an amount, and that people's income would be of a certain amount. And otherwise, the bank would not take the risk of giving out mortgages or whatever. And
sure. I mean, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say we had the housing bubble in Arizona really started with forest fires in California, right? We had a bunch of people from California with $1 million houses that were smaller than the houses you could buy here for a tenth that price, say, hey, we don't like this forest fires anymore. We're going to move to Arizona, because it was up and coming tech area. And so they had a bunch of people move in here. And then on top of that, we had builders here, and it's a pretty business-friendly state. So we had builders here building like crazy, and people investing in houses as investment properties. And then, the bankers. One of the problems with the system was that there was a disjoining of the profit and the risk, right? Because you have these brokers who would basically sell somebody a mortgage and then go and or give somebody a mortgage, issue a mortgage, and then sell the mortgage to somebody else, right? And they could do that, and then they'd be off the hook for the mortgage being good or bad. And as long as the person got into the mortgage and held it for a couple months even, right, or maybe a year or something, I don't know what the terms were, but then they could sell it off to somebody else, and it became their risk, right? And the broker made the money, and they could run. I mean,
Sure.
I don't have a lot of facts backing that, but we had a lot of problems here in Arizona with assessors lying about the value of properties, and then brokers approving mortgages with an inflated value of the house, and then getting kickbacks to everybody. And it's the way.
Good grief.
It works. This is the frontier, right? So we have some mavericks out here, right?
Well, what would be your suggestion to guard against that in the future, from happening again? I guess. How do you?
The big thing is you have to somehow tie the responsibility. You have to. First, my first priority is transparency. Right now, you cannot figure out who owns my mortgage. Really, who's the pieces have been sold to. There's no accounting of that. Somehow, it works one way, you can't work it the other way, or something. Something like that. So transparency there is a good thing. Secondly, responsibility. The people who sell the mortgage, and I think there's legislation pending on this somehow, have to somehow remain responsible for the mortgage for some much longer term than a couple months, right? Because that way they have an incentive to actually issue mortgages responsibly, right? I've heard, and I don't know how much this is factored into things, but I've heard that there was government incentives to issue mortgages in places that maybe it wasn't so justified, right? So there was some incentive there to take on extra risk,
well, then that would sound pretty libertarian then, unless I'm hearing you wrong. Because even if your mortgage was sold to a different collector and it was not your original broker, they would only buy that because they thought that it was still going to be paid back to them. It wasn't forced upon someone. It was bought and agreed upon with the anticipation that the mortgage would be repaid and everything would be kosher and they would get the profit from the interest.
Right.
But that was obviously incorrect. And when that happens in the market, what was the red flag that didn't go off? Was it because of government incentive, giving companies or giving brokerages brokers a reason to give out more loans than what they should have, to take unnecessary risk, and so on? If that's the case, would the answer, or a possible answer, be less government incentive to inflate the value or to inflate the value of the risk taking, if anything else?
Yeah, I think that there's something to be learned from incentivizing risky operations. So I agree on that. Oh, here comes my dog. Yeah, hi. Say hi, Coyote. This is Coyote.
Hi.